Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. And since the most recent film in this series just came out, I've decided to do trivia reviews for the other two films. So today I'm doing the 2002 film 28 Days Later. Here is your trivia question for today. At the end of the movie, how do the main characters attempt to contact survivors? So, in the film 28 Days Later, we have our main character of Rick Grimes waking up in the hospital with zombies everywhere. Oh, wait a minute. No. Our main character is Jim, who also wakes up in a hospital with zombies everywhere. Now, all joking aside, though, if you didn't know, the Walking Dead comic series actually started in 2003 when this film actually came out in 2002. Interesting. Going back to the story, though, Jim wakes up in London and everybody else is gone but him. He does soon realize, though, that he is not alone, as there are infected running around everywhere. At one point, he runs into a woman named Selena, and the two of them start working together. Eventually, though, they run into some other survivors, a father and daughter named Frank and Hannah. These four decide to travel together as they do hear information about a military compound where they might actually find safety and security. In the end, though, they may end up realizing that the infected are not the only things that they have to worry about. It is believed that the name for this film actually came from the widely considered belief that peak immunity from a virus occurs 28 days after infection. This movie was directed by Danny Boyle and written by Alex Garland. The main character of Jim was played by Cillian Murphy. What's interesting, though, is Jim is supposed to be English, but Cillian kept reverting back to his Irish accent, so they just kept that in. Jim, by the way, was originally going to be played by Ewan McGregor. Unfortunately, he and Danny Boyle had a falling out during this time. They then were going to reach out to Ryan Gosling, but due to scheduling conflicts, he had to turn it down. Naomi Harris plays the character of Selena. It's never mentioned in the film, but a backstory was developed for the character, where she was forced to kill her infected mother and father to save her baby brother, only to discover he was infected as well. The character of Major Henry West was played by Christopher Eccleston. What's funny, though, is the character was originally offered to Robert Carlyle, who would actually show up in the sequel as one of the main characters. Brendan Gleeson appears as the character of Frank, Noah Huntley plays the small role of Mark, and Megan Burns plays Hannah. However, though, Burns did not really appear in much else other than this film. Here's something you may not know. James McAvoy auditioned to be one of the infected, but was not selected to play one. The priest scene near the beginning of the film was Toby Sedgwick, who was actually the movement director and helped develop how the infected moved and spasmed. All of the actors who play soldiers in this film, including Eccleston, did a 3-day training program with real soldiers. Athletes were chosen to play the infected to get the right look and movements. Did you happen to know that the rage virus was based off of Ebola? To get the empty roadways and highways, these shots were done between 7 and 9 a.m. with police slowing traffic. The scene where the main characters are all celebrating together was shot on September 11th, 2001. Danny Boyle felt very awkward about shooting a celebratory scene on that day. The hospital used in this film was a real hospital. They actually rent it out to filmmakers on weekends. The money from filming goes into a trust for the hospital. Cillian Murphy was in fact nude for his opening scene. It was, however, a closed set. It cost £250,000 to blow up the Canary Wharf petrol station. All of the upstairs mansion scenes were filmed downstairs, as the owner of the mansion was living in the upstairs area during filming. The tunnel scene was filmed in a new tunnel expansion, which they had special permission to use, and it took 2 days to do the shoot. The execution pit was filmed outside, and one of the prop teams forgot to pick up all the fake bodies. A local woman saw them from the road, panicked, crashed her car, and then called the police. The movie was shot almost entirely in sequence. Also, it was one of the first films to be shot in digital. However, the last scene of the movie was shot entirely on standard 35mm film, and the flashbacks of Jim's parents were shot on Super 8mm film. Author Stephen King was such a big fan of the movie that not only did he buy out an entire showing of the film in New York City, he also paraphrases Selena in his book Dr. Sleep when saying, "He needs us more than we need him." In the original script, the mansion was where the rage virus was developed. They would have arrived with Frank being infected. Then they would drain Frank's blood, with Jim giving him all of his own, sacrificing himself in the process. Danny Boyle and Alex Garland agreed, though, that that wouldn't stop a virus, so they dropped that idea. Also, the original ending to the film did have Jim succumbing to his injuries, but test audiences hated that. Here's something that's interesting. It's believed that this movie and The Ring seem to be the end of the influx of teen horror, as they both were sleeper hits that starred adults. This movie says the word fuck 61 times. The movie was filmed in England and Germany. It would also spawn two sequels, 28 weeks later, and of course 28 years later, which is now out in theaters. There was also a graphic novel called 28 Days Later, The Aftermath, which takes place between 28 days and 28 weeks. Also, 28 Days Later even had a short lived comic book series. So when it comes to the film 28 Days Later, I really enjoyed this movie. It had a low budget look to it, but it was a big budget feel. Also, I really liked how they changed up how zombies worked. Now, mind you, they were more just infected people in this, but the fact that the zombies were running around and were very feral and just honestly very creepy, I really liked that. So for me on my scale, I'm giving this movie a 4 out of 5. And if you enjoyed this one, other films I recommend checking out are The Day of the Triffids, I Am Legend, Train to Busan, and the remake of Dawn of the Dead. Now it's time to answer the trivia question from the beginning of this episode. At the end of the movie, how do the main characters attempt to contact survivors? In the location that they're hiding out at, they keep hearing a jet flying overhead, so they make a giant hello sign out of sheets and clothes. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews, and keep an eye out as I'm going to be doing a trivia review for the sequel and then one of my regular reviews for the third film.